Hello, beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I do this through one-on-one angel sessions, soul mentoring, and a variety of classes. And you can learn more about my offerings at my website, illuminatingsouls.com. I also have a Facebook page, Illuminating Souls, where I post daily inspirational messages for you, and also a daily email blast, which you can sign up for on my website. So lots of ways we can connect. But for now, the angels and I are here to help bring to you loving, soothing, calming energies to help you relax and rest. And as most of you know, I am someone who listens to sleep podcasts. And this is what has inspired the creation of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings for you. I just love the experience of cozying up in bed and putting in my earbuds. I'm somebody who can sleep with them. They don't bother me. And then picking from a variety of podcasts, including this one sometimes. And then I hear another beautiful, quiet voice reading to me or telling me a story. And I think that this is such a beautiful ritual that has happened throughout the generations. Right, sitting around the fire, sitting around a darkened room and hearing voices mumble or talk in the background, or reading bedtime stories to our children. There is something about the companionship of another voice, for me anyways, that helps create a sense of warmth and goodness that makes it easier for me to turn off my thoughts of the day and drift off into that beautiful mystery of sleep. So I hope I get to do this for you as well. And as I record this, it is early morning here in the Bay Area. And it's one of those mornings where the sky is blue. You know, sometimes this time of year we get the June gloom that I shared about in the last episode, even though it's July. Weather does not know from the months on the calendar. But this morning, the sun is bright and the sky is blue. And the thing that I noticed as I was getting ready for the morning was how beautiful and calm the energy feels. And I'm not often aware of this sense of calm in the morning. It exists, but for some reason, right now, it feels potent. And so I'm guided to share it with you. So I send to you this beautiful, quiet, calming presence. And it is a presence that is filled with so much beauty and potential. It is an inviting vibration. And it feels like it's saying it's okay to come into the quiet. It's okay to be in the stillness. That it's not about opting out, it's about receiving and replenishing and soaking up the light. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath in and invite the waves of calming, soothing light to flow to you now. Allowing yourself to receive this nurturing, replenishing energy that is here to help you let go of the old, sticky energies you no longer need to carry with you. And allow yourself to be washed clear, to reconnect with source energy in a way that amplifies your connection with your authentic self, so that you can take up more room in your beingness. So just take a deep breath in and exhale, allowing your body to grow heavier, allowing waves of relaxation to flow through your body, especially that area around your neck and shoulders, just letting your shoulders relax. Allowing this wave of relaxation to move down your torso, allowing those muscles in your thighs and your calves relax. Knowing that you have permission to receive right now from the love of your angels. And I'm going to go ahead and ask the angels to join us here, even though they are already here. But I love the ritual of speaking the invitation aloud. So beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. And I thank you. I am so deeply grateful for your invitation, for us to join you in this beautiful sanctuary of light that you are cultivating for us all. And angels, I ask that you assist each one of us in entering this beautiful sanctuary filled with love. I ask that you help us clear away anything that does not belong to us. Any old, outmoded paradigms that we no longer need to hold on to. And assist each one of us in opening to the expansive, vibrant truth of who we truly are as divine beings in human form. Angels, I ask that you uplift us, that you assist us in activating and spreading our etheric wings so that we may soar into bright new adventures. And angels, I ask that you help to soothe and heal our hearts, to help each one of us know that we are not alone, but we are truly loved and supported. So, dear ones, just take a nice deep breath in and receive. And the angels would like you to know that they have so much love for you. And they have reverence for you. You see, they understand the courage it takes to choose to incarnate into this earthly realm. And you are one of the beautiful souls who has chosen to be here now. You are one of the souls who is actively participating in evolving the consciousness of mankind. That through your thoughts and the way you live your life, the way you choose empathy and love, you are helping to evolve the waves of consciousness that are present here on the planet. And they also remind us all that evolution takes time. Evolution is often invisible when witnessed in the timeline of a human lifespan. But to not doubt for even a moment that your life is contributing to the wellspring of upliftment that is destined to take place. Each of us is sowing seeds for a future that we cannot yet envision. But your life, dear one, your life is a blessing. And through your life, your beingness, just you being here, is contributing to a wealth of brighter tomorrows. So just take a deep breath in. The angels remind us it takes time to heal a collective consciousness. Individual consciousness can be healed much more quickly, but it takes time, generations and generations often, to help heal and evolve collective consciousness. And collective consciousness is healed one person at a time. So your contribution to the well-being of the collective is duly noted. You are indeed contributing positively and profoundly to the shifts that future generations will experience. And this may be hard to contemplate or understand in this moment. Just know this to be true. and just receive the love of your angels, allowing it to move through you, allowing it to help you remember the preciousness of all that you are. And breathe. And know with every breath, your ripple of love moves through the collective. You bring molecules of light into this world with every breath you take. Just allowing the goodness to flow to you now. You are so much more than you know. You carry wisdom within your soul. You carry love within your spirit. You are precious and you are an on purpose from God, as Reverend Michael Beckwith says. You are an on purpose. Isn't that wonderful? I remember the first time I heard him say that, I cried. He says, you are not an accident. You are an on purpose from God. It was one of the first services at Agape I had attended, and I just cried. Sometimes we need to be reminded that we're on purpose. You're on purpose. You are born from the breath of God that has incarnated as you. And you are a miracle. And I am so grateful to get to know you in this moment. I am so grateful for the blessing of keeping you company in this moment. Truly, what a gift it is to spend this time with you now. I send you love from my heart to yours. And I thank God for the gift of you. And my beautiful friends, I'm going to tell you a story. And tonight I have a really good story to share with you. It's one of my foundational stories about my first ever psychic experience. For those of you who listened to my first podcast, Musings of an Earth Girl, I did share this story there, but I didn't share it to you in calm, soothing, sleepy tones, which I'm going to do now. But this is how I discovered I had psychic abilities, much to my surprise. So I'll set the tone for you. I think it was somewhere around 1987. I don't remember the exact year, but it definitely was the late 80s at some point. And I was working at the Samuel Goldwyn Company in Los Angeles, which I have shared with you about in some other episodes. And I wasn't really happy there for a number of reasons. And I also wasn't making much money. I think at the time my salary was somewhere around, $20,000, $21,000 a year, which even back then was not a lot. And I wanted to earn $30,000 a year, which was a lot of money back then. The idea of earning $30,000 a year, I felt like that would give me a lot of freedom. For example, to share with you what things cost back then, I drove a Pontiac T1000, which was the corporate twin to a Chevette. It was a manual, so a stick shift, but it had air conditioning. And I think the car was $4,000 bought new. My parents helped me buy it. And my car payment was $100 a month. And my rent, I think I paid $400 a month. So $30,000 a year would be a lot of money. And the only way I knew how to make that much money would be to go and get my MBA. MBAs were a big thing in the 80s. If you think of the movie Wall Street, right? It's to learn about money and business was very in vogue at the time. And Pepperdine University had an MBA program designed for people who worked during the daytime. The classes were held, I think it was in Culver City or West LA, somewhere on the west side, versus going to their Malibu campus. And so I thought, this is what I need. I should go get an MBA. And then I can earn $30,000 a year or more. So I went to an informational evening for the program, and I chose to sign up. It's so interesting. Sometimes I take forever to decide to register for something, and other times I'm all in. And this was definitely an all-in moment. And I registered, and then I had to choose my first class. And I remember there was a really lovely woman working registration. And the first class you have to take as part of the program was a class in human development or human potential. I don't really recall what it was called, but that was the gist of it. And the counselor flipped open the catalog and pointed to the class and an instructor's photo. And she said, I recommend you take this one with him because all the students really seem to like him. So I thought, okay, sounds good. And I registered. So the first day of the class, the first night of the class, we meet the professor. His name is Dr. Reardon. And he starts explaining to us, I'm completely paraphrasing here because this is how it has metabolized in my consciousness all of these years later, but that we were going to be looking at human potential and human development through a different lens that was going to be metaphysical in nature. All I remember about that first class was I thought this was crazy. I grew up in a very intellectual household. My father was an electrical engineer. My mother was a chemist. My cousins were lawyers. We were very evidence-based in our beliefs. And this is what I remember, that early in the semester, we had to choose a topic for our final paper, and the topic had to be something metaphysical, and we would be applying the principles of this topic, whatever metaphysical topic we chose, to see if we would have any experiences. And I just remember rolling my eyes, thinking this was ridiculous. We could choose topics like pendulums. I remember he mentioned iridology, and I didn't know what that was at the time. And I really just thought this was wacky. And I chose the topic of lucid dreaming because I could at least wrap my head around the fact that I knew we dreamt, and that was meaningful in terms of psychology. and lucid dreaming sounded interesting. So that was as far as I was willing to go. And I don't recall all the books that we read that semester, but the one that really cracked something open for me was the book Mastering Your Hidden Self by Serge Kahali King. And it was a book about Hawaiian shamanism. And I remember really doing battle with the concepts that he shared in my own mind. There's one part, and I'm completely paraphrasing here, but he wrote something along the lines, if as a child you were told if it's raining outside and your feet get wet, you'll catch a cold, that belief gets stored in your consciousness. And so even as an adult, if you go out in the rain and your feet get wet, you will manifest a cold. And I remember writing my paper, because we had to write papers about these books, saying, that's ridiculous. Everybody knows that a cold is caused by viruses, not our beliefs. I was incensed. I laugh because God has a sense of humor. So I was really intrigued by this book, Mastering Your Hidden Self, even though I had a hard time accepting its premise. And then he showed us a video of a shaman on a boat in Hawaii calling forward weather. The shaman was on the boat and he called forward a storm. And I thought, I remember I must have traveled back to Chicago that next week because I shared that with my mom. And my mom even said, that just sounds ridiculous. I was like, I know, doesn't it? I just didn't know what to do with this information. And the thing to remember is that this was not a metaphysical class. This wasn't a class that I had registered for through Hay House or Omega or Kripalu or a place like that. This was an MBA program class, and companies from the top accounting firms in the city were sending their employees to this class to get MBAs. I mean, this was really supposed to be a muggle class. So these concepts were really percolating in me. And I was struggling, but at some point, they started to stick. Because I remember about halfway through the semester, I really began to develop a profound curiosity about this. Like, what if this is true? What if this is real? And what if there is more to reality than I understand it to be? So something had started to move in the semester, and I became an active participant in the discussions in the class. And the class completed with a mandatory retreat that we all had to go on for a weekend at a retreat center up near Santa Barbara. I think it was called the Madonna Inn. I had no idea what we would do on this retreat, but we had to go, and so off we went. And I think I rode up with some classmates. So we get to the retreat center, and the first activity we do is we're all seated in a big circle on chairs. And I think maybe there were 20 of us, 25 of us in the class. And Dr. Reardon taught us to meditate. That was the first thing we did together. And he shared with us how to meditate, which was clearing your mind. And one of the tools he shared with us is if your mind doesn't quiet, he said, go to your hand. And what he meant by that was to focus on the feeling of your hand. What did your hand feel like? What did your fingers feel like? Could you feel the pulse in your hand? So, as we were sitting around this circle, and I don't know how long we meditated that first time, 20 minutes maybe, much longer than I would have ever felt comfortable. Periodically, he would quietly say to us, go to your hand. So that was my first experience with meditation, and it's not that I had a huge epiphany, but I did it. And then he taught us to use a pendulum, so we worked with pendulums. And throughout the weekend, we would continue to return to meditation. And one of the things I began to feel into was this ball of energy that would form in my hand that I was really mesmerized by. It's like the pulse of my hand, when I focused on it, this ball of energy started to form. It's the best way I can describe it. And I should tell you, I had a crush on this really cute boy in my class, because of course I did, right? I was in my 20s. What do you do in any group? You find the cutest boy or cutest girl, depending on your preference, and you develop a crush, right? Because a crush makes everything more interesting. So through meditation, I discovered I had this energy ball in my hand. So I started flicking it at the cute boy, inviting him to love me, which is such a colossal abuse of power. And I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but listen, I was like 25 or 26. My integrity had not yet been born in the same way that I have it now for metaphysical matters. And so I would send him my energy ball. And he didn't notice, of course. But at some point when I was doing this, and it was not obvious, I just maybe moved a little bit of my fingertip or something. But I look up and Dr. Reardon is looking right at me. And I thought, oh no, he knows. He knows what I've been doing. And it was almost this admonishment like, girlfriend, you better watch yourself. Now, whether he really knew or not, I don't know. But it was one of those moments that I realized I need to rein this in. And I need to have good boundaries with my energy balls. And no, the cute boy never even noticed me, so clearly my powers were muted. So, sorry, God bless my sweet little 25-year-old heart. I was just anything to get the cute boy even an energy ball that I did not know yet how to use. So, okay. So there was the energy ball and the pendulums. And then he taught us about kinesiology. And the way he taught it was, if you've ever had the experience, you hold your arm straight out from on your side, up in the air, so it's even with your shoulder, with your palm up. And your partner says resist, and then tries to push down on your arm. And if they say resist, typically the arm doesn't move very much. And if you're not resisting, the arm folds very quickly. So he showed us how thoughts impacted our energy field. So he would have us say something positive to our partner. You're a nice person, right? Something like that. You're a nice person. I appreciate your hair, whatever you would say to a person, right? And then we would see if their arm was strong or if it collapsed. And always when you said something nice, the person's arm would be strong. And then they would have us say something that was not nice, not cruel, but we might say, your hair looks like it's a mess, something benign. And then, of course, the arm would go down when you tried to push on it. And then he had us do this, sending silent messages to our partners to see if their energy field could discern the vibration of the energy we were sending them. So you might say to someone, I love you, silently, and see if their arm would be strong. And then you might say to them silently, I don't like you, and see if their arm would be weak. And it was shocking because all of us had success with this method. You'd say something nice silently, somebody's arm would be strong. You'd say something negative and their arm would be weak. It was incredible. Again, a revolutionary awareness of how sensitive our energy fields are. So all of this is happening at this retreat. My energy ball with the cute boy, pendulums, kinesiology. And then comes the last day. And he is going to teach us a method for remote viewing. Pretty cool, right? So again, we're all seated in a circle. And Dr. Reardon says, okay, find a partner. And we did. But here's what happened, and none of us even realized it. He says, find a partner. And about a minute later, he says, okay, are we all set? And we all nod, except for this one guy in our class who had struggled the whole semester because he was very linear and was really struggling with these concepts that we were being taught. And he says, what are you talking about? We didn't pick partners yet. And we all look around and kind of this nervous laugh ripples through the circle because what had just happened that we hadn't even realized was we had all looked around the circle and nodded at a partner. And that's how we picked partners. There was no speaking out loud. There was no waving at each other. It was profoundly subtle. So this guy says, wait a second, what just happened? And we were all shocked because we didn't even realize it was sort of like a group agreement that we just nodded at our partner and we were set. So I really remember that. So here was the assignment. We were to write down on a piece of paper the name of two people that we knew. We were to write down where they lived, their age, and a physical ailment that we had knowledge of. So if you happen to know that your sister had a cold, or if you happen to know that your friend had migraines. So things like that. And you would write them down on a piece of paper. And then what we were supposed to do was to go off somewhere nearby. And our partner would walk us through a meditation. There was a script that they would read to us to bring us into meditation. And then we were supposed to go into a screen in our mind's eye. So well, I'll describe what I saw in a second, but we were supposed to create a screen in our mind's eye and project the person on our screen and scan their body to try to discern what was happening. What our partner would do was they would guide us. So, for instance, as I was scanning, I might say, it feels like they have a headache. And here was the responses that our partner could give us. The first was, I don't have that information at this time. So the answer would never be no, they don't have a headache. The answer would be, I don't have that information at this time. Because perhaps the person had a headache and our partner didn't have knowledge of it. So we were never going to say no. We would say, I don't have that information at this time. Or the other would be some form of affirmative, yes. Continue. I don't remember what the affirmative response was, but let's affirm it's yes and continue. I don't recall what we actually said. So I go out with my partner, a nice guy, I remember, and he gives me his first person. I don't remember her details, but it was female. I seem to recall she was in her 20s, so sort of near our age stage, because I think he was around my age. It wasn't the cute guy, he was cute, but he wasn't my cute boy, just to be clear. He was a nice guy, though. And I was so wired back then. That's just so cute. I just find myself adorable at that age, so we'll continue. But he gave me her name. I don't remember her name, but we'll call her Mary. Her name is Mary, and she's 27 years old, and she lives in Ontario or something, wherever it was. So I project Mary on my screen, and I begin to scan down the body. And the way it appeared to me, I don't know how it appeared for anyone else. If any of you remember the old Excedrin commercials where they would have a black silhouette of a person on a screen, and then there would be these red dots that would be, do you have a headache? And there'd be this red dot on the head portion of the silhouette, or a bad back, and then there'd be this radiating red pain point at the back. That's how it looked to me. So I had a silhouette of her. I scanned down, and I got to her uterus. And I said, there's something there. And he said, yes. And I said, before I tell you what I said, I'll tell you what I felt. I felt like what was there was wrong, that it wasn't supposed to be there. And in the meanwhile, though, I'm battling with this awareness because I'm thinking, she's a 27-year-old girl, and I called all 27-year-olds girls at that point, so please forgive me. That's just how it lives in my consciousness. I was like, there's no way she has cancer. Come on, Laurel, don't be so dramatic. Don't give his friend cancer. It's not cancer. But I didn't know what it was. It just felt foreign, and it felt wrong. And so I just said, I don't know what it is, but it just feels like there is something in her uterus, and I'm not sure it's supposed to be there. And he said, yes, or something like that, and continue. Do you see anything else? Because that's how we were supposed to lead them. Like, is there anything else you see? And what I saw was this pain point on her wrist that just was pulsing red. I said, her wrist. There's a pain point on her wrist. I didn't know what any of this meant, and I was sure I was getting it wrong, because don't we always think that whenever we do our first readings for people? And I come out of the meditation, and it turns out that this girl, we'll call her Mary, I don't remember her name. This girl was pregnant unexpectedly, and she had really struggled with whether or not she was going to keep the baby. She really was challenged with what to do because she wasn't married. And then it turned out that as she was going through Lamaze training or Lamaze classes, because she decided after all to keep the pregnancy and the child, that they had told her partner to pinch her wrist when she had a contraction to help distract her from the pain. So if you cause pain in another place, it might distract the pain of the contraction. But that they told her partner to pinch her wrist. So I thought that was pretty frickin' cool, right? I was like, oh, no wonder what I felt in her womb felt wrong, like it wasn't supposed to be there, because she was not completely in alignment with this pregnancy. And the wrist, like, how cool is that? So after the first round, we all go back in the room together. And it turns out that like 80% of us got what we were asked to see. And we're all kind of freaked out, including the guy who never was in line with any of this. He got his thing too. So we're all kind of freaked out. And then Dr. Reardon sends us for round 2. And this is when things get really weird. So now I'm being led through my second meditation with my partner. And when I get deep into the meditation, he says this. This one I'll tell you because I remember it clearly. He says his name is Patton. He's 3 years old, and he lives in Simi Valley. So I go to project Patton on my screen, thinking it's going to be a little boy, right? That's what I would think. And so I go to project, and this is what I heard in my consciousness, a tow-headed little boy. So tow-headed means blonde. So I project this tow-headed little boy on my screen, and immediately I know something is profoundly wrong with this child. So I start scanning, because we're supposed to scan from the head down to the feet. And I start scanning down, and his eyes turn into laser beams. The eyes like turn into these cones and shoot out at me. And I didn't know what to say about this, right? My mind is saying, Laurel, you're making this up. This is his nephew, and you're mutilating this child in this process. So I say something like, his eyes, there's something with his eyes. And my partner says, I do not have that information at this time. Please continue. And I'm like, oh, great, Laurel, you are just a fool. And I keep scanning down, and I get to his hands. And as I'm scanning his hands, I see them turn into fists and turn inward. And I said, his hands. There is something with his hands. And he says, I'm sorry, I do not have this information at this time. Please continue. So my inner consciousness is having a field day. It's like, you are so making this up, and you are just doing terrible things in your mind's eye to his nephew. What are you doing? But I kept going because I'm a good student. And then I get down to his feet, and his feet do the same thing that his hands do. They curl up. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong with his feet. And I had known in the past that sometimes children wear these braces on their feet to straighten them. It's like there's a bar with shoes and it helps children's feet straighten. I'm like, he might need one of those stabilizing bars for his feet because I don't know how he walks on them. And my partner says something affirmative that there's something going on with the feet. And I was like, there's something going on with one of his legs. So that essentially is what I had received. So inside of me, I'm screaming. I'm like, you're just crazy. You're a fool. You have just mutilated this beautiful little boy in your mind's eye. And, just forget about it. I'm embarrassed now. And I don't know. I'll just come out of this meditation and it'll be fine. So I come out of the meditation and my partner is looking at me very sheepishly. He's kind of embarrassed. And I'm embarrassed too. But then he says this. He says, okay, listen, I don't know how to tell you this, but I didn't have any other people who were ill. So Patton is my golden retriever. And he has a hurt foot. And I am stunned. And I'm like, oh my God, wait a second. And I start reliving what I was seeing. So the first impression that I got is he's a tow-headed boy, but something is profoundly wrong with him. Well, because he's not a boy, he's a dog. And then as I scan down to his eyes, I'm seeing dog eyes, the way a dog sees, which is different than how human eyes see. Right? Like the laser beams. Well, dogs see differently at night. And then when I got down to the hands and I saw them curl up into fists, it's because I was seeing front paws. Makes sense, right? And same thing with the feet. Of course, a little boy couldn't walk on those feet because they were dog feet. They were dog paws, and his dog had a hurt rear leg. So I am completely freaked out now because you realize that this means that I'm psychic, right? I shouldn't have been able to do this. It's crazy. And so now it's time to go back into the circle where we're all going to share again. And what was interesting is this time, only about 40% of the people got their person right. And Dr. Reardon said it's because when we got the first one right, it freaked us out. And we decided we couldn't really do this. And so that's why people couldn't do it a second time. So this shatters like my beliefs about who I am and what I'm capable of. It really kind of freaked me out. And kind of in a good way, but also kind of scary. I'm thinking, this is a huge revelation about myself. It's like I thought I knew who I was, and now I have these psychic abilities, and what does that mean? It was a profound foundational crack for me. And I remember the drive home from Santa Barbara, and all the way I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm psychic. What does that even mean? And how was I going to break this to people? Like, I'm psychic? It didn't compute. So I'm going to share with you this next little part, but this is going to be shared with you in more detail in the next episode because we will definitely need a part 2. So at my job at Samuel Goldwyn, I had some really wonderful friends that I made there. And one of my friends is my friend Judy, who I also call Judes, and we're still friends all these years later. And Judy knew I had a crush on this cute boy in the class. So I come into work the next day and Judy says, "How was your retreat?" Thinking I was going to tell her about the boy. And I say to her in a whisper, I said, Judy, I think I'm psychic. And Judy starts laughing. And Judy is one of those people, she has the best laugh in the world. Like when she laughs, it comes from her heart and you can't help but join her. So I said, Judy, I think I'm psychic. She just started laughing. And in the next episode, I'm going to share with you why that moment was so profound for Judy and for me too. Because what I didn't know at that moment was that Judy is one of those rare people who was born open to her gifts. So when I shared with her about this discovery of my psychic abilities, in that moment, she recognized why she was working where she was. But I will share more with you about Jude's in the next episode because it just gets better from here. But that is how I came to my first ever psychic experience. I signed up to get an MBA because I wanted to earn $30,000 a year. And it led me to this class in human development that was somehow, through some miracle, taught from a metaphysical perspective, long before law of attraction and your thoughts create your reality was mainstream. This was just right around the time that Louise Hay was getting started. And I hadn't known her work yet. So it was the early days. Hay House wasn't really a thing yet. You know, most big cities had metaphysical bookstores, and I would have never gone into one because I would have just rolled my eyes, skeptic that I was. I thought those people were a little cray-cray and not my thing. I was raised Jewish in an intellectual family, and I just didn't believe any of that stuff. So here I go into this class, probably with my team of angels, laughing all the way. Like, wait till she discovers who she really is all those years later. So that's how I became a believer from somebody who was a firm, bona fide skeptic. Because for me, once I had this very visceral, tangible experience that I could not explain in any other way, it was game on. You know, the first one with my partner, with the woman who was pregnant, had that been the only experience I had, I would have explained it away. I would have been like, it's a coincidence. Isn't that an interesting story that I might share at a cocktail party, and not that I went to cocktail parties, but you know what I mean. I don't think it would have changed my life. But that I had that profound experience trying to reconcile the overlay of a little tow-headed boy with a golden retriever was so substantial and unmistakable that it cracked me open. What a gift that was. Again, had he just given me the name of his brother who, I don't know, whatever, had a headache, it wouldn't have been a life-changing moment for me. But God bless Patton, the 3-year-old golden retriever. It was a psychic experience that I could not explain away, that I could not walk away from. I was psychic. And not only was I psychic, but I now had to believe that all of us had this ability. Because Mastering Your Hidden Self, the book by Serge King, wasn't just about me, it was about all of us. And I was in a class full of accountants who had just had success with their own remote viewing experiences and kinesiology and pendulums. So I feel so profoundly grateful that somehow I found my way into that class, because it began building a foundation for me that would take me to where I am now. And I have a lot more to tell you about this chapter of my life and Jude's and the role she plays in it. And I promise I'll share that with you in the next episode. So for now, I invite you to take a deep breath in if you're still awake and let it out. And here's to all of our God moments. We've all had God moments, yes? When we wake up to an expression of ourselves that perhaps we were unaware of the day before. When we remember who we are. When something wonderful and magical is born and goodness flows. So here's to our God moments, and here's to the God moments yet to be. Those beautiful moments of awakening into the bright sunshine. So for now, I wish you sweet dreams, and thank you for letting me share this part of my life with you. I love you very much, and I am deeply, deeply grateful for the gift of you. We'll talk again soon. Thank you.